No problem.
I will now call the roll. Manny Armada from Regulatory
Here.
and Economics Resources. Welcome, Manny. Eliad Nunez from DTPW.
I'm here.
Danny Iglesias from FDOT.
I'm here. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Barbara Handrahan, SFRTA. I know she's there because I saw her name pop up. Scarlett Hammonds, Miami-Dade County School Board.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Welcome. Javier Rodriguez from MDX.
Yes, I'm here.
Javier. I saw Akin Osayadin from City of North Miami. I saw the name pop up.
Yes, I'm here.
Great, Akin, welcome. Jose Sanchez, City of Hialeah.
Here.
Hi, Jose. Jose Gonzalez, City of Miami Beach. All right, I saw his name pop up. I know he's there, but he must be having technical difficulties as well. Tom Ruiz, City of Miami Gardens.
I'm here.
Welcome. Julio Brea, City of Homestead.
Here.
Doug Yoder, Water and Sewer. I saw him earlier. Rita Carbonell, City of Doral. I saw her name as well pop up. And Ed Santa Maria, City of Coral Gables.
Present on the call.
Awesome. Mr. Chairman, you have quorum.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody. First item is to approval of the agenda. Just as a note, there was some material sent out over the weekend, which was the revised version of the Unified Planning Work Program. I hope that you were able to see it at least today in form. So as such, the agenda needs to be approved as amended with that document to item 3B. So do I have, anybody want to move the approval of the agenda?
Move.
I move.
Ruiz.
I need to hear your name. Is that Tom Ruiz who moved?
Yes.
I moved them. Well, depends.
Do I hear a second?
Did you get my name?
Tom, so we have Tom Ruiz moving.
And Manny Armada?
Yes. Well, then I second it.
All right.
This is Manny.
All right.
So can I repeat that? We have Tom Ruiz moved and Manny Armada second?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody not approving the agenda? All right. It passed unanimously. Let's move forward to
And that's as amended.
as amended. Approval of minutes. Anybody with any comments on the minutes? Anybody want to move the item?
This is Barbara Handrahan. I move the item.
Thank you.
Julio
Any-
Brea.
Deliberate second. Thank you. You see,
Great.
they're already following the rules of engagement. I like
Yes,
that.
they
That's
are. Thank you.
quick, great. So we move forward to action item.
They need to vote on the minutes.
Oh, yes. Can you go back? I'm sorry. All those in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Anybody against? Unanimously passed. Thank you, Vivian. All right. Going to item 3, action items. We have 2 action items, and the first one is item 3A. Vivian, can you please read it into the record?
Gladly, Mr. Chairman. Resolution recommending approval of amendments to the 2045 Long Range Transportation Plan and Fiscal Year 2020 Transportation Improvement Program to include in period 1 of the plan a roadway widening project along Northwest 84th Avenue from Northwest 58th Street to Northwest 74th Street from 2 to 4 lanes project number PW0001169. This is a Miami-Dade Department of Transportation and Public Works item.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Can I have a motion and second before we start discussion on this? Does anybody want to move the item?
I'll move the item, Tom Ruiz.
Thanks, Tom.
And a second? Anybody second?
I'll second it. This is Elia.
All right, Ellie, thank you. All right, we have a motion and second. Let's have a discussion. This is a DTPW item, and we do have Claudia Diaz with DTPW here to address any questions or comments that the TPC members may have. Is Leandro here too, or no? Is it just you, Claudia, that's here for the item?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, all right, perfect. So with that, does anybody have questions or comments on this item for Claudia?
No.
No? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question here, call the item to question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, and anybody nay? Okay, item passes unanimously, thank you.
Wilson, I will remove myself from the meeting now. Is that okay?
Sure, sure. Thank you, Claudia.
Bye.
And Lisa, can you try to do a video, Lisa? So because of your presentation, it would be great if you would be on video.
Ivan, and we have an issue with one of our council.
There we go. Welcome, Lisa.
If you could unmute Doug Yoder.
No, I unmuted. I should be okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have item 3B.
Item
Clerk,
3.
can you read it into the record?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Resolution recommending approval of an amendment to the fiscal years 2019 and 2020 Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP, deobligating certain funds, and approval of fiscal years 2021 and 2022 UPWUP incorporating said funds. This is a Miami-Dade TPO item, and it is as amended.
Thank you, Vivian. And with us, that we do have a brief presentation, and I wanted to recognize Lisa Colmenares, who is the project manager for the UPWP, and she will provide a brief presentation and summary of the document. So Lisa, it's yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. Lisa Colmenares, Program Development Manager for the Miami-Dade Transportation Planning Organization. Today with you, I would like to perform a small presentation as we come to you every couple of years regarding our Unified Planning Work Program for fiscal years 2021 and 2022. Next slide, please. As you know, it's a priority of the Miami-Dade TPO to provide or carry on a continuous, cooperating, and comprehensive planning process. And as part of this, we have mandated federal requirements that include the development of a 20-year comprehensive plan or metropolitan transportation plan, which we adopted on September 26th of 2019. We also have an annual transportation improvement program, which is our 5-year capital work program, which we are currently in process of developing, and includes coordination, collaboration with all of our partners. And the document that we have in front of you today, which is our Unified Planning Work Program, which is our 2-year planning program, and which is the item of this presentation, a congestion management process, and a public participation plan. Next slide, please. So obviously, our fiscal year 2021 and 2022 Unified Planning Work Program, it encompasses a 2-year horizon, and it starts on July 1st of this year, and it will end in June 2022 June 30th of 2022. It's a biennial program which includes all studies and also all of administrative activities, so production and activities that will be carried on by CPO staff and also by member agencies. We include different technical activities that support the transportation planning process in coordination with our partners. And we have different tasks conducted within the time period mentioned. And I just wanted to illustrate in this slide on the bottom some studies that were completed in the previous fiscal year 2019 and 2020 Unified Planning Work Program. Next slide, please.
All right, I'm going to interrupt for just 1 second. Lisa, I'm sorry. We're getting some interference. If everybody would please mute so that we could hear you clearly. Otherwise,
Thank you, Vivian.
there's background noise. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm gonna take myself off speaker and just speak on the phone so we don't get the background noise in my place either. Probably that will be better. Okay, so another thing is, as you know, it's the transportation planning process it's collaborative. So we work together with all of our partners. We work together with our Department of Transportation. We work together with our federal agencies, FHWA and FTA. We work together with our Turnpike Authority, with our Expressway Authority, with the Regional Planning Council, with the SFRTA, with all of our county agencies, and with all of our municipal representatives. So this is a collaborative effort, and our document encompasses activities to make sure that we capture that essence. Next slide, please. So this year, the document you have in front of you encompasses all of the activities that you're used to seeing, but we have a streamlined approach where we have made the document a little bit more user-friendly, and we have categorized our activities in 5 main tasks. So the first one has our federal and state core requirements. Then we have our coordination activities with federal, state, and regional partners. Then we have our technical program, and then our administrative program, and then our expenditures with local funds. And I'm going to go a little bit in detail into what these encompass. So we don't have 8 elements like we used to have. We have tried to capture our main activities into these categories or tasks. Next slide. So our first task is our federal and state core requirements, which I mentioned before, are our long-range transportation plan. And the activities that we're going to be covering in fiscal years 21 and 22 is to maintain our adopted 2045 long-range plan. And what is that? Of course, as you saw an example in the previous presentation by our partners from Department of Transportation and Public Works, that's any amendments that may come as a result from our transportation planners. Partners, and we also have anything that may be required by any federal and state requirements, and we maintain our congestion management process as well. Our transportation improvement program, as you know, it's an annual. We add our 5th year, and we also update depending on our priorities that may have come into play. And we work on updating our list of priority projects and working in consultation and in collaboration with our partners. So that's our transportation improvement program, and we're currently in development right now of our TIP program. Our Unified Planning Work Program, we will be maintaining any modifications or amendments and working with our federal and state partners. And additionally, in fiscal year 2022, we will start developing the next 2023 and 2024 Unified Planning Work Program. Our public participation plan provides assistance for all of our citizen advisory committees, and we provide our transportation outreach planner, our social media, our TPO annual support, our maintenance of our website, and all of our different activities to make sure that we have continuous daily ongoing communication with our public, which is very important to our agency. And last but not least, we have our performance management, which we comply with all of federal and state requirements and consistency for our documents and we update them, our long-range transportation plan and our transportation improvement program for our performance management requirements, and additionally coordinating with our partners and updating these requirements as they go along. Next slide. Our second task is our federal, state, and regional planning. Of course, we have continuous comprehensive collaborative process. We participate in different committees and agencies. We participation in AASHTO and in the organization of metropolitan planning organizations at the national level, national regional councils at the state level, at the MPOAC, and obviously at the regional level, we coordinate with Palm Beach and Broward through our Southeast Federal Transportation Council, our SEFTEC. And activities to support that will be our SERPA maintenance, our SERPA 8, and the development of the new SERPA upcoming, SERPA 9. So our model, which is to support our regional modeling efforts in our Southeast Florida region, which is very important for our long-range planning efforts for each of our MPOs, TPO, and TPA. Next slide, please. And for our task number 3, which is our technical program, this encompasses a lot of activities, and that's going to be on the next slide that's going to be coming up. So it not only supports, next slide, please. I don't know if the presentation is frozen.
Yeah, Lisa, what slide are we looking for?
Task 3, the next slide.
Task 3?
Yes, sir. We're currently, on my screen, I see task 2. Task 3, technical program.
I'm displaying task 3, technical programs.
Okay, very good. I don't see it on my screen. So, okay, so I'll continue because I know these slides. Okay, so task 3, technical program includes all of our
but hold on,
activities.
Lisa, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Does everybody see task 3 or task 2?
Oh, this is Danny. We see
Everybody
task 2.
see in task 2.
Everybody sees task 2.
Yeah, we've seen 2.
Now we go.
All
there?
right. Now
All
we
right.
got it. Perfect. Thank you. I thought it was only on my screen. Okay, excellent. Thank you. So our task 3 is our technical program, and it's the bulk of the report that you have in front of you in terms of material, because obviously it's the production of our agency, and we have active coordination with most of our partners in this task. We have our SMART plan and programs. So in here we have all of the activities supporting our SMART plan, including our 6 corridors, our financial plan for the SMART plan. We also have our public participation program with the SMART plan, and additionally a bus express rapid transit activities and our stops modeling effort. We also have our SMART demonstration program, where we collaborate with our municipal partners and Department of Transportation Public Works in the state annually to implement and advance elements of the SMART plan for this program. In our SMART Moves program, which I will go in detail a little bit more in a couple of slides, where we have planning studies with our municipal partners and additionally with the public to address, ideas that they have to implement studies. Then we have our multimodal and intermodal planning, where we have all of our different modes, activities to support our transit, freight, bicycle, and pedestrian facilities throughout Miami-Dade. We have also our roadway and highway network. We want to ensure system interconnectivity, efficiency, and we have made provisions in there to look at different things like our arterial grid connectivity and SMART plan, smart signals throughout the county. So that's one of the things that we, in coordination with the Department of Transportation Public Works and with our state partners. In our future areas of emphasis, we have been seeing a trend for resiliency. We're looking at automated, connected, electric, and shared vehicles, and safety. So all of these things are captured in this activity. And our technical program support and data collection, we work very closely with the Department of Transportation and Public Works for our annual highway traffic counting and socioeconomic and land use data to support our comprehensive development master plan, our zoning applications with the county, and additionally to make sure they have planning consistency with our federal documents. And we also have our general planning consultant and on-demand services to provide professional services to support our production in the TPO. Next slide, please. And last but not least, we have our administration, or our day-to-day operations in the office. We have our TPO program support, where we have our COOP for any emergency that is occurring, like we're currently ongoing right now. We have our TPO board support for all of our TPO governing board and subcommittees. And additionally, we have administrative day-to-day to run our office. And additionally, any grants activities, financial activities, all of that is included in here. And our transportation disadvantage plan, which we coordinate very closely with the state and also with the county. And our next slide is our Smart Moves program, which I wanted to mention and for the benefit of all of you here. For our fiscal year 2021, we have received applications from our municipal partners, and we're very happy that we were able to provide or grants, once it is approved by our TPO governing board, which is the next step, for all of the studies that were applied for by our municipal partners, including studies for City of Doral, Cutler Bay, City of Miami, Palmetto Bay, North Bay Village, Miami Shores, and City of Miami Beach. So we're very happy about that. And in the general public, we have studies in both fiscal years 2021 and 2022 to include a different variety, including complete streets, smart transit improvements, first last mile connections to advance the SMART plan, studies for feasibility of these, and connected and autonomous vehicle studies was a very interest for our public. Next slide. And just a snapshot of our budget for our Unified Planning Work Program. We have different federal sources. We have Federal Metropolitan Planning Funds, FHWAPL, a total of $6.6 million. We also have Surface Urban Planning Funds, also from FHWA, which is a total of 5.5. We have FTA 5305B funds for $5.9 million, and our CTP program, which is a state fund, $150 million. And we also have transfers to our regional partners for regional activities in task 2 is $800 million. So a total of 18.9. So in the first fiscal year 2021, that's 18.08 million, and in fiscal year 2022 is $7.9 million in total. So the total budget is $18.9 million for our Unified Planning Work Program for fiscal years 21 and 22. Thank you. Next slide. And just to give you a little overview of our schedule and where we're at, we had our solicitation in December, received Smart Move programs were due in January. We submitted a draft to our federal state partners in February, and we received comments back after our 30-day period from the feds and from the state. We went to the CTAC on April 1st, and today we are here on the 13th of April, and we will be going to our board next Thursday. And then the deadline is the 15th to submit to the state our Unified Planning Work Program and also our de-obligation numbers approval, and the deadline for the feds to approve our Unified Plan and Work Program is June 30th. So with that, I will turn it back over to Mr. Chair, Mr. Fernandez, and I'll open it up to the members of the team.
Thank you, Lisa. So do I have any questions for Lisa? But before I do, I want to thank everybody and thank for reviewing and apologies for kind of sending this document a little bit behind, lagging from the agenda package. But as you could see, we really transformed this document from years past. I think for over 20 years, we've been doing it sort of the same way. And this really represents a transformational review of the document, and Lisa and the consultant team really should be commended for this vision. The other part is that this version that was sent to you does include as Lisa mentioned, the FDOT review comments that were submitted, and we were able to incorporate those into this version that you have. So it is a cleaned up version that incorporates not only DOT's, but FHWA and FTA's review comments. So with that, I'll open it up if you have any questions or comments for Lisa. All right, Lisa, you left them without any comments. So do I have anybody to move this item?
I'll move the item, Tom Ruiz.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second Doug Yoder.
Thank you, Doug. With that, all aye for those approve?
Aye.
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 Any nays? None here and none. Item passes unanimously. Thank you, everybody. All right, let's go now to informational items. We have 2 of them. And item 4A is the East-West Corridor Rapid Transit Project. And we have Elia Nunez from DTPW that I'm going to hand off this to. Elia?
Great, thank you. Again, this is Elia Nunez. Can you guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. I'm Assistant Director for Transit and DTPW, and today we have our consultant, Marie Dow, here today from WSP to present the East-West. As many of you know, the East-West Corridor is one of the 6 Smart Plan corridors. The study began in 2017, and for the last 2 years, we've been working on the PD&E. WSP is here today to present the recommended alternative and provide an update on the actual study. If you guys have any questions, we also have Francisco here, who is our DTPW project manager that can assist Marie with any questions you may have. Go ahead, Marie. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Elia. All right, let's go into it. Next slide. So as Elia mentioned, the East-West Corridor is one of the 6 rapid transit corridors that were identified as part of the SMART plan. And this corridor is particularly important because it is an artery, a main artery in our region. It connects various regional hubs and really our economic engine in the county between FIU, the airport, the Civic Center, the Miami Intermodal Center, downtown Miami, and ultimately Port Miami and the beach. So as a result, this is one of the major east-west corridor in the region. So it does experience a high level of traffic congestion. Next. Ivan, next slide. Right. So a little bit about the corridor. It's about 14 miles long if we include the portion of the corridor that we're evaluating along Northwest 7th Street. 10 miles on 836 from the Turnpike roughly to the Miami Intermodal Center, Lejeune Road, and then 10 miles on the existing CSX line. When you look at the figure at the bottom, the dotted box is really where we are focusing our infrastructure improvements. So that's the area where we are proposing new stations, new alignments for HRT, commuter rail, or bus rapid transit, but transit operation could expand beyond that box. So within that box, the population is about 91,000 within a half-a-mile buffer, 330,000 within a 2-mile buffer, and that is explained with Doral, which is a high-density area, and also the Fontainebleau area, Sweetwater, and all of the residential communities in the corridor within a 2-mile buffer. The density is about 4,200 persons per square mile as far as population is concerned. When you look at employment with all of the industrial developments, with the malls, with the airport and all of the ancillary facilities, supporting facility in the Miami Intermodal Center, the population in the corridor is about 109,000, which is a half-mile. Oh, that's a pretty picture, which is a half-mile buffer, and 215 within a 2-mile buffer with a density of 5,000 employees per square mile. So in short, you have a higher employee density than population density, but they're comparable. Daily traffic in the corridor, 150,000 to 190,000 on State Road 836. That's a lot of vehicles per day. 45,000 on Northwest 12th Street, and 35,000 in the Blue Lagoon area around Northwest on Northwest 7th Street. Transit usage. The number of daily riders in the corridor is about 8,600, with a little less than half on Route 7. There are no route that actually provides service on the 836 corridor itself, but there are routes that uses part of 836 to connect to the various points. And other routes in the corridor, Route 238, and then the major intersecting Route 37, 42nd, and 57, and that includes, that comprises the routes that serve the corridor for about 8,600 riders per day. Next. So we talked about the congestion in the corridor, and I'm sure all of you did ride 836 at some point or another. So this is a snapshot of the same day, Monday, March 9th, before all this happened. If you left at 6 a.m. from 147th Avenue at 8th Street, which is where the proposed Miami Transit Station will be constructed, and you're heading to downtown Miami at the Government Center, if you stayed on 836 at 6 a.m., your trip would be about 18 to 28 minutes. If you stayed on 8th Street and then hopped on 836, we're looking at 24 to 45 minutes. And if you did sort of a roundabout way, stayed on 836, then went on 112 and down to downtown, it's about 24 to 35 minutes. Now, that same route, 2 hours later at 8 a.m., same day, starting same point and ending same point. Staying on 836, it would be an hour and 15 minutes compared to just 28 minutes at 6 a.m. Staying on 8th Street and then hopping on 836 would be an hour and 40 minutes. So just an hour more than at 6 a.m. And then staying on 836, hopping on 112 and down to downtown would be an hour and 25 minutes. So in essence, 15 minutes to an hour more, just 2 hours later, using the same path and connecting the same point, which shows you the level of congestion in the corridor. So next, and also the need to improve mobility in the corridor, which is the purpose of this study actually. It's just to provide for other modes of transportation in the corridor and be able to connect the various regional systems in the corridor as well as the major activity centers. So we're looking at 3 modes of transportation: the heavy rail, just an extension of metro rail, a commuter rail, and this is to use the existing facilities, the CSX facility north of 836 along 12th Street, from the Miami Intermodal Center to the Dolphin Terminal, and then a bus rapid transit that with the main infrastructure between the Dolphin and also the MEC, but with service expanding beyond that. So next. So this is in essence what we're looking at, the 3 modes. So starting with the purple line, which is the commuter rail transit alignment. So it uses the existing rail tracks on the CSX. These tracks would need to be improved because CSX needs to operate freight at perpetuity on that line. And we would double track that line to be able to improve, provide the highest level of service if the commuter rail transit option is selected. Now, there is a possibility to extend the commuter rail out west. So when you look at the slide on the west of the turnpike and on the left side of the slide, you can see the dotted purple line. So, and that line is really, it's not part of the study that we're doing now, but if that mode is selected, it could be extended to provide connection to 147th Avenue and 8th Street, where the new proposed Miami station will be located. And the goal there is really to potentially connect other BRT service on 147th Avenue, for example, to provide that connection to the east-west and taking the people from the Kendall area to the Dolphin and points beyond. Well, one more thing about that. The CSX line right now continues further south west of 137th Avenue. And to provide a connection to 147 and 8th Street, we would use the existing portion of the CSX from the Dolphin to 137 and then build a new double track line down from Northwest 112, where the existing line is, south along maybe on the west side of 137 down to 8th Street. Now a shuttle, very similar to a tri-road shuttle, would provide a connection between the end of the CSX line at 137th Avenue and 8th to the Miami Transit Terminal. The reason why we are not using the existing line west of 137 and providing that south direct connection to 147 and 8th Street is because the urban boundary district limits are just west of 137 right now, and the TPW as of now cannot operate transit outside of the UDB. If we look at the cyan line, which is the proposed heavy rail transit, no, go back, still on that slide, previous one. Thank you. So this is the proposed HRT line, the cyan line, and it provides a connection from FIU, then goes across the turnpike to the Dolphin, and then crosses the 836 and runs mostly south of 836, elevated most of the way, and provides a connection to the Miami Intermodal Center and Miami Airport. The HRT would provide for a seamless, no transfer route to the orange line, and you could hop on the train at FIU and run all the way to Dade South with our ever-changing train. a potential extension for the HRT line to connect to 147th Avenue and 8th Street. It's pretty much a straight alignment from along 8th Street from FIU down to the proposed Miami station. The BRT, the green line, the alignment, there are really two alignments that comprise the one alternative that we are looking at. It's the alignment would start at Dolphin Terminal and runs mostly on the south end of 836 to be able to provide access to where most of the residences are in this corridor. And then you would have routes that would stay on 836 to the MIC, but then we would also have service to the Mall of the Americas and Blue Lagoon area on Northwest 7 to be able to serve all of the employment in that area. The extension, actually as part of our alternative, we do have an extension of the Dolphin of the BRT that runs that connects to the Miami station. Discussions, and if this alternative is selected, there are discussions to actually have dedicated bus lane on 12th Street, 137 and 8th to connect the Miami station and the Dolphin station. Next. For all of the alternatives that we have evaluated, the 836 Express is our base condition. So for all of the alternatives, the 3 express routes that are planned, proposed to run on the inside shoulders of 836 that have been completed by MTX. All these 3 lines are also included in all of the alternatives that we evaluated. So the first line, Express Line A, starts at Miami, runs on 8th Street, 137, the extension on 836, all the way down to the Government Center. Route B, which is the Cyan Line, starts at FIU, runs on the Turnpike, then hops on 836 to the MIC. And the third line, line C, starts at Dolphin Terminal, runs on 836, and all the way down to the Government Center. Those 3 routes are point-to-point service, so you get on, for example, on the pink line at Miami. There are no stations in between until you get to Government Center. All 3 lines will be operating all day. Next. The second alternative, the bus rapid transit, is a series of lines, actually 3 main lines that connect all of the activity centers along the corridor. So this is again a preliminary operating plan, trying really to provide a potential service in the corridor. The red dots are the proposed stations that are along this corridor, and they're pretty much at every interchange in the corridor, and also on Northwest 7th Street, Blue Lagoon area, to be able to provide access to these locations there. All of the bus routes would be operating in the inside or the outside shoulder of 836. No additional lane will be constructed. The outside shoulder of 836 will be improved, widened if necessary to allow for bus operation. There will be some improvements to the 107th Avenue interchange to be able to provide direct access to the proposed station there. But the movements that exist today, the number of lanes that exist today would still remain. So a few of the lines, I'll just talk about a few of them. So we have a proposed service that would start from the Miami station, 147th Avenue and 8th Street, run on 8th. Very similar to the A line, the express line. It would be in mixed traffic, then hop on the extension 836. And then from the Dolphin, from the Turnpike, it would be on the outside shoulders of 836 and connect to the MIC. All of the lines that we have proposed, as you can see, there are no red dots east of Lejeune, so we don't have any proposed stations as part of these operating plans outside east of Lejeune. So they would be running either in the inside shoulders or outside shoulders east of Lejeune, all the way to the government center. Next. And again, they'll be running concurrently with the express service. As you can see, the first 3 lines of that table show the express service, the 836 express lines. And then the magenta, cyan, and green are the additional route service that we are providing as part of the BRT service. And the dots show where all of the proposed stops and stations would be along each of the lines. Next. So these are typical sections of what the service, the BRT service would look like, both on 836, which is the top part, and then on Northwest 7, the bottom part. So the typical section on 836, again, would remain, the number of lanes on 836 would remain the same. The gold boxes in the middle are the inside shoulders, and that's predominantly used by the 836 express routes. And the red boxes on either side of the typical section would be the where the BRT service would predominantly run on the shoulders of 836. Again, we're not eliminating, we're not repurposing a lane. We are using the existing shoulders on 836 and improving them to be able to accommodate the BRT service. On Northwest 7th Street, we actually have 2 options. We're showing the repurposing of the right lanes in this typical section, but we also have potential that we could have an additional lane in the median, so that way we would allow for the existing 2 lanes on Northwest 7 in each direction to remain, and then have a dedicated lane for the BRT. So that will be further evaluated in the next phase of the study if this alternative is selected as the LPA. Next. The third alternative is the heavy rail transit. So the solid orange line is the existing orange line from Dadeland South to the McMia, and then the dotted line is the additional, the extension that is proposed as part of this alternative, and would run from the MIC all the way to FIU with stations at approximately every interchange. Now, in the next phase of the study, the location and the need for those stations will be further evaluated if this alternative is selected. And then also the dash line to 147 and 8th Street is the proposed extension to be evaluated if this alternative is selected. So the extension again would allow for somebody to, from FIU, to run all the way to Dadeland South without changing trains. Next. This is a representation of the typical section with the HRT alternative. Again, the gold lines, the gold boxes in the middle are the inside shoulders, mainly used by the 836 Express service. And the Metro Rail line, the heavy rail line, very similar to what you see down south on US 1, would be elevated mostly on the south side of 836. And then on Northwest 7th Street, the alignment would be in the median, and the existing 2 lanes in each direction on Northwest 7th Street would remain. So there wouldn't be any repurpose of lanes on Northwest 7th Street with the HRT alternative. Next. So this is alternative 4. It's the commuter rail transit service, which would be similar to a tri-rail service running on the CSX line from the MIG to the Dolphin on the existing line, which would be double track, improved and double track to be able to allow for headways of 10-15 minutes. We have about, let's see, 2, 4, 6 station planned on the CSX line, pretty much at major interchanges. And the last one would be on the south side of 12th Street across from the Dolphin Terminal, and there would be a pedestrian connection between the CSX station and the Dolphin as well, the Dolphin Terminal. The dash line or the proposed is the proposed extension if this alternative is selected, and the ellipse the oval shape there from 137 to 147th Avenue on 8th Street is where the proposed shuttle, very similar to a tri-rail shuttle, would operate to be able to connect to 147. Next. This is a typical section west of 107th Avenue of the commuter rail. As you can see, that line would be double track, and a connection from the east to the west side of the train would be provided via elevated walkways, very similar to what you see on the tri-rail line right now. Next. Next. All right, so alternative 5, a lot of you know this. Go back. A previous slide, there you go. A lot of you know that this corridor, and I think Wilson mentioned it a couple of times, that this corridor is bipolar. On the north side, you have a lot of industrial and commercial and malls. And then on the south side, you have a lot of residential and employment and hotels. So this alternative 5 is developed to be able to provide access to both sides of the corridor. So using the CSX alternative 4 that we described before, with the same location for the station and the same potential extension to the west. And then the BRT alternative 2, which would connect all of the dots and all of the lane uses on the south side of the corridor, which is identical to alternative 2 that was described before. Next, similar to the alignment, the operating plan would be exactly a combination of alternative 2, the BRT station. You see, we've shown this table before, and then also the CRT line. It's identical to what we have in alternative 4. One of the things that I did not mention is with the HRT alternative, we're able to improve the Katy Rodell path and actually extend it. And that also occurs with the CSX alternative, which is a great opportunity to provide for true multimodal connection in that corridor. Next. To be able to identify the recommended alternative, we looked at really 3 main criteria, and under each criteria we have a series of performance measures. So we looked at cost and implementation timeframe, mobility, and then social and physical impacts. And we'll talk about each of them in the next slides. Next. We also used a ranking for each of the alternatives, going from lower performing 1 to a higher performing 5. So if we look at cost, for example, an alternative with a higher cost would score a 1, and an alternative with a lower cost would rank a 5. And but on the environmental side, or travel time, for example, a lower ridership would score a 1 and a higher ridership would score a 5. So this was used to be able to identify the recommended alternative. Next. So first we look at cost. Just looking at a couple of the items on that table. So first, the construction and capital cost. That includes the cost of the infrastructure, the cost of building the stations, the cost of the vehicles for each of the alternative, and double tracking, for example, for the commuter rail. What it does not include is the right-of-way cost. But we're able to evaluate the impact of right-of-way by the number of acres that it would take to improve the roadways or include parking ride stations. So the bus rapid transit comes in at 330 million. Compared to the commuter rail at 505 million, followed by the commuter rail / BRT alternative at 835, which actually is the sum of alternative 2, the BRT, and alternative 4, the commuter rail, and then the heavy rail at $1.9 billion. The heavy rail, so the BRT is mostly improvements of the shoulders on 836. Improvement at some of the interchanges where the heavy rail is elevated along the entire length with maybe some potential at grade on Northwest 107th Avenue. So a lot of bridges, lots of piers, and just a cost including the construction of the guideway. We've also looked at capital cost per new rider. So this is the first line, the capital cost, what it takes to build the system over the number of daily riders, new transit trips that each alternative would bring. And again, the BRT alternative comes in at the higher ranked alternative compared to all of the other alternatives. Looking at construction time as well, the BRT would take about 2 to 3 years compared to 6 to 8 years with the heavy rail, 3 to 4 with the commuter, and 4 to 5 with the commuter combination with the BRT. Next. Mobility, of course, is one of the criteria that we looked in the quarter, and we actually looked at it in 2 buckets. So this first one, we looked at trips on projects based on the definition of the FTA, which is in a sense everybody that uses trips that uses the proposed capital improvement. So when you look at the heavy rail, for example, all the trips that start and end between the MIC and FIU are counted, but also the trips that start and or end east of the MIC on the existing line. The BRT comes in at 10 to 13,000 a day. The heavy rail is the highest one, 15 to 18,000. The commuter rail ranges between almost 5 and 6,000 riders per new trips per day. And then the commuter / BRT alternative at about 13 to 16,000 trips per day. So the heavy rail has the highest number of trips. The commuter rail has the lowest number of trips. Something else to consider when it got to mobility as well is the additional connection with seamless connection to downtown for most of the activity centers in the corridor. So with the bus rapid transit, the heavy rail, and the commuter / bus rapid transit, you can hop on at pretty much all of the activity centers along the corridor and never leave that mode to reach downtown. The commuter rail only runs from Dauphin to the MIC, so you have a transfer. For example, if you were at FIU, you would either drive to the 107th Avenue CSX station or take a bus from FIU to the 107th CSX station, and then you would have to transfer again at the MIC to be able to hop on Metro Rail if you wanted to go point south downtown or all the way to Dadeland south. So that's an important point in considering the alternatives. Next. We've also looked at transit travel time from two major origin destinations in the corridor, from the Dauphin to the MIC, and then from FIU to downtown. Considering, I think, slide 3 or 4, that we show that it takes about 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes in the corridor right now, and looking at and doing off-peak, not doing off-peak, when you don't have congestion, but when you have congestion, this increases by at least an hour. So these times are very impressive with all of the alternatives. And the main reason is you pretty much would use either dedicated travel lane for the bus rapid transit, so very little running in mixed traffic. And then also with the heavy rail, the commuter rail, you would also have a dedicated line taking you from Dauphin to the MIC and from FIU to downtown. And the reason why the CSX alternative for the CSX line takes much longer than the other alternative from FIU is what I explained before. You have to have a connection at either end, a transfer at either end of that line to use the CSX as your main mode between FIU and downtown. So next. As far as environmental effects, we would look into these a little in more detail when we get to the next phase of the project. Those are potential areas that have been identified to be impacted by each of the alternatives. In the next phase, we would of course minimize or mitigate this depending on the alternative that gets selected. But overall, the commuter rail has less impact because, of course, most of the improvements are within existing right-of-way. And the BRT alternative is really the next one that has the least impact. Next. So in addition, so a summary of all of these criteria led to the recommendation of the bus rapid transit as the alternative, the recommended alternative, right? And if we look at each of the buckets of evaluation of the cost criteria, it is the most affordable. It's 80% less expensive than the HRT and 35% the cost of the CSX option. It also has the lowest cost per new riders and the lowest construction time, 2 to 3 years. On the mobility side, it moves a comparable amount of people. When you look at cars in transit as the HRT and the CRT alternative, similar to the HRT, it provides an additional one-seat ride to downtown, and it has the most competitive travel time from FIU to downtown. When you look at the environmental effects, minimal noise impact, it's pretty much running with the traffic mix, where the CSX, for example, with the addition of the track, doing the double track, you get the CSX closer to existing land uses, and then with the heavy rail running elevated and in some area close to residential areas. So that's where the noise impact comes from. Minimal construction impact, as most of the construction would occur on the outside shoulders on 836, so minimal in disruption of traffic on 836, as opposed to the HRT, for example, where there's quite a bit of piers that would need to be constructed, and then a lot of bridges crossing the turnpike and 836 as well. Next. In addition to the criteria, we've also identified 3 points that point to a bus rapid transit being the recommended alternative. Next. So point number 1, right, there's already implementation of the Express Transit on 836. The inside shoulders are ready for service. The service will start imminently. So the BRT, having a BRT recommended alternative on 836 is kind of phase 2, the natural evolution of that 836 express system in the corridor. Next. It also it also is an incremental approach strategy, right? So phase 1 is the 836 Express, and then we come with the BRT alternative that connects most of the activity centers along the corridor. And as part of the smart plan, you also have the Turnpike North and South Bus Express Rapid Transit that would provide that connection at the Dolphin Terminal, bringing people from the north, from Broward and points north of Miami-Dade, and also people that from down south, from Kendall, through potential connection with the Kendall Smart Corridor, and then also all the way south from Florida City and Cutler Ridge and places like that. All of that would connect with the BRT at the Dolphin Terminal and take them to the all of the land uses along the corridor and then points east. The third point that we wanted to make is the 836 really connects major development in the region, not just in the corridor, but in the region. The American Dream Mall, one of the largest malls in the US, 3 million square feet of retail and entertainment. The Dolphin Terminal with 45 acres of transit-oriented development. FIU, which with already 60,000 students, and then Miami International Airport with 44 million passengers. So the BRT alternative would provide that connection with all of these development. Next. We had an extensive public involvement program through the entire project, and we also have our PIO, Ms. Ann Pope, and Ms. Ruby Hemingway on the line as well. We started in June of 2017 and conducted more than 50 meetings, including project advisory committee meetings and committee meetings as well. I think you guys are the third one, if I'm not mistaken, and more coming between now and April 23rd, where we will present this project to the TPO board for a selection of the locally preferred alternative. Next. We are more than halfway there when it comes to this project. We have actually prepared a series of documents, traffic, travel demand, environmental documents, and we are in the process of completing the draft preliminary engineering report. and ready for the TPO board meeting on the 23rd. Once the locally preferred alternative is selected, then we'll go to the NEPA process, requesting from FTA a class of action determination on the type of document that they would like to see, and leading us to potential approval of that environmental document in the summer of next year. At this point, I'd like to turn it back to the chair and address any comments, questions you may have.
Thank you, Marie. Opening it up for anybody that has any questions or comments for Marie.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is Javier with MDX. Marie, good job. And we are supportive at the Expressway Authority. We are supportive of the BRT as the locally preferred alternative. We have provided the project team with some comments. We know we're going to be meeting, and we look forward to having those comments addressed and resolution to some of those comments and operational issues before we get to the final engineering report. But overall, I think it's the appropriate recommendation for this corridor. Thank you.
Thank you, Javier.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Marie and team? All right, Marie, I do have a question. You have shown a slide in terms of right-of-way impact for the different build alternatives, and there was one for the commuter rail of 25 acres. I'm assuming this is maybe for the additional portion to connect to the Miami or for station areas. But I think it's important to include there that a portion of that rail corridor would have to either potentially be purchased or some type of an agreement with the CSX that it's not on public right of way on the CSX. I think that's an important note.
Right. We are reaching out to the CSX to also present this project and also identify any of these, particularly the item that you're bringing. The right of way that we've identified is only for the additional stations in the corridor.
Okay. All right. Last chance. Anyone? All
Wilson, this is Gia. I don't have questions, but I have a request. I know that our item is presented as information item, but it would be great if the TPC could offer us a letter of support or a letter of endorsement.
Okay, yes, you are correct that it was as an information item to the TPC, and this is consistent, I believe, with how all the other corridors have come to the TPC. Vivian, since this is my first meeting as chair, how have the other corridors been addressed by the TPC?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, you are correct. They have all consistently been presented as informational items, and therefore no action has been taken other than questions and answers.
Okay.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, this is Danny Iglesias from FDOT. I just wanted to ask a quick question to Marie. With the use of both shoulders for bus transit use, is there a concern, and maybe this is something for Javier also, with not having a dedicated shoulder for stalled vehicles or for use of emergency vehicles, given that it would be intended or used for buses? Right now, you can use the outside shoulder, even though the inside shoulder currently has the express bus on it. So just my comment.
Danny, that's part of our comments to the project team, and that is a concern we have as far as the use of the outside shoulder for BRT. And we look forward to meeting with the project team and resolving a lot of those issues before the end of the project.
Okay, Javier, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much, Elia Marie, for presenting this item.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome. We do have one other information item, and we have on for the fiscal year 2021-2025 Transportation Improvement Program and Citizens TIP. We have Christopher Rosenberg, who is the new PM. After how many years did Carlos Roa do the TIP? I think almost 30 years he was doing the TIP. So we have a new project manager for the new decade. Mr. Rosenberg, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So as Wilson mentioned, the item is just informational at this point. As is tradition through Carlos Roa for the past 30 years, we always do bring this item twice to your committee. So this is the first time we'll be bringing it to you as an informational item, and more than anything to inform the committee and for the committee to go back to their staff and let them know that our documents are posted for the 45-day public review period. An enhancement that we did to our website, which is where you can find both documents, the full 2021 through 2025 TIP, as well as our citizens version, is that we do have a live countdown to show when that 45-day review period will be concluding. So please, this is an opportunity for all committee members to go in, peruse the documents, provide any comments that you have directly to me through the chair, and we will be able to implement before the May 21st TPO Governing Board meeting, which is when we have the item for adoption. But we will be bringing this item back to this committee one more time for an action at your next meeting. So if you can, please provide any comments to me. And as a point of opportunity, I would just like to tell all the committee members to please go back and thank your staffs. All of your teams have been working diligently and efficiently with me through my committee. Most of you are represented on the TIP Development Committee, and all of your staff have done a wonderful job of providing the information on time so that we could put together a comprehensive and representative document for our federal requirement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And as you mentioned, this will come back, so we'll have an opportunity to discuss it. Maybe you'll provide a little presentation with a summary, but it's just to give everyone a heads up that this has been posted. We're in the 45-day review period, and with the mission of getting this passed at the May 21st TPO board meeting. Thank you, Chris. Any questions for Chris? All right, hearing none. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Tom Ruiz.
All right, Tom. Second?
Akano Zaiden, City of North Miami, second.
All right, thank you. So with that, everybody, I'm assuming we're all ready to adjourn, and I want to thank everybody for participating in the meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Stay healthy, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Have a good
Bye, everybody.
Be safe.